Arriving at the meeting with her wealthy husband to discuss their divorce, the doctor entered the restaurant with her young daughter, and upon seeing a will on the table instead of a menu, in the heart of a bustling city, a dedicated doctor finds herself in the midst of a personal and professional storm. Sarah never imagined that a simple meeting could change her life forever. A mysterious will, a missing husband, secrets hidden beneath the surface of an apparently perfect life. With the unexpected help of powerful allies, Sarah embarks on a journey to discover the truth. But each answer only brings more questions. On that early afternoon, Sarah walked slowly toward the restaurant where her world would be turned upside down. As a doctor, she was used to emergencies, but nothing could prepare her for what she was about to face. She held her young daughter Lily's hand firmly, who was only 4 years old. The little girl kept asking why they were there, but Sarah only responded with a sad smile and a distant look. The diner, chosen by her husband John, a successful businessman, seemed like an ordinary setting for such an important discussion. Sarah wondered why he had chosen such a public place to discuss something as intimate as a divorce. But John had always liked to keep up appearances, and perhaps the choice of location was part of that strategy. Upon entering, Sarah looked for John, but he had not yet arrived. She sat at a table in the back, trying to stay calm while Lily distractedly drew on a piece of paper. In the center of the table, where she expected to find a menu, was an envelope. Intrigued, Sarah opened the envelope and found it contained a will. Her name was listed as the sole heir to a considerable fortune. Her eyes widened in surprise and confusion. What was John planning? She tried calling him, but the phone was out of range. With each passing second, her anxiety grew. John was a meticulous and detailed man. He would never leave something so important to be discussed without being present. Something was very wrong. Sarah waited for over an hour, but John did not show up. She felt helpless, lost in a sea of uncertainty. Suddenly, a desperate cry echoed through the diner. A young man had collapsed on the floor, writhing in pain. Sarah's medical instincts kicked in. She ran to him, checking his vital signs and searching for the cause of the emergency. He was having a severe allergic reaction. With steady hands, Sarah instructed the bystanders to call an ambulance while she administered first aid. Someone brought a first aid kit, and she found an epinephrine injection, quickly administering it. Within minutes, the young man's condition began to stabilize. The entire diner held its breath, watching her work with efficiency and determination. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics applauded Sarah's work. An elegant woman who had been watching closely approached. It was Elizabeth Carter, a well-known businesswoman in the city. "You saved his life," Elizabeth said with gratitude in her eyes. "Let me pay for your meal and offer something more." Sarah thanked her, but her mind was still focused on the will. What did it all mean? Why hadn't John shown up? As her daughter played innocently beside her, Sarah knew this was just the tip of the iceberg. The real storm was yet to come, and she needed to be prepared. The drive home was filled with a whirlwind of thoughts in Sarah's mind. Lily, exhausted after the long wait, fell asleep in the back seat. Sarah continued trying to contact John, but his phone remained out of range. Once home, she decided to try again, but the result was the same. The next morning, Sarah was approached by 2 police officers at her door. "Dr. Sarah Thompson?" one of them asked with a serious tone. She nodded, feeling a chill down her spine. "We need to talk about your husband, John." Sarah invited them in, feeling the weight of her concern increasing. "What happened? Where is he?" she asked, trying to stay calm. The officers exchanged looks before responding. "Your husband is missing. We found his car in a hotel room on the outskirts of the city. There were signs of a struggle and blood at the scene. Do you know anything that could help us understand what happened?" Sarah's world began to spin. She sat on the couch, trying to process the information. I don't know anything. He asked me to meet him at a diner yesterday to discuss our divorce. He never showed up, and since then, I haven't been able to reach him." The officers carefully noted her words. "We need you to come to the station to answer some questions and help with the investigation," one of them said. As she followed the officers, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something much bigger was happening. At the station, she was questioned for hours, repeating the same details she had already shared. Deep down, she knew she was the main suspect given the nature of the meeting set to discuss the divorce. After hours of interrogation, she was released to go home. She was exhausted and emotionally drained. As she entered her house, she found Lily playing in the living room, unaware of the storm descending on their family. The next morning, Sarah received a call from a familiar voice. It was Elizabeth Carter, the mother of the young man Sarah had saved at the diner. "Dr. Thompson, this is Elizabeth Carter. I would like to thank you personally for what you did for my son. Could we meet?" Sarah accepted the invitation, eager for anything that could distract her mind from her worries. They met at a sophisticated cafe downtown. Elizabeth was an elegant and determined woman, and her gratitude towards Sarah was evident. "I don't know how to thank you for what you did for my son, Alex," Elizabeth said, holding Sarah's hands. "He means everything to me, and you saved his life. I would like to offer my help. I see you're going through a difficult time." Initially hesitant, Sarah eventually opened up and told Elizabeth about John's disappearance and the suspicions surrounding her. Elizabeth listened attentively and offered her unconditional support. As they talked, Sarah mentioned the will she found at the diner. Elizabeth frowned, intrigued. "That's very strange. A will? It seems there's more to this story." Elizabeth, who had many influential contacts, promised to help investigate the case. "We'll find out what's going on, Sarah. I have friends in the FBI who can help us." Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. For the first time since John's disappearance, she felt she wasn't alone. With the help of Elizabeth and her contacts, perhaps she could unravel the mystery and prove her innocence. In the days that followed, Elizabeth kept her promise and activated her contacts. One of the FBI agents, a determined young man named Alex, Elizabeth's son, began investigating the case. He was the same young man Sarah had saved, and now he felt it was his turn to return the favor. Alex met with Sarah to discuss the details. He was insightful and had a reassuring manner that made Sarah feel safe. "We're going to find out what happened to your husband," he assured her. "But I need you to tell me everything you know, down to the smallest detail." Sarah recounted everything once again: the scheduled meeting, the will, John's absence. Alex took detailed notes and promised to keep her informed of any progress. Meanwhile, the tension was growing. Sarah couldn't concentrate at work and felt the shadow of suspicion hanging over her. The curious looks from colleagues at the hospital were hard to ignore, but she clung to the hope that Alex and Elizabeth would solve the mystery. One night, while Alex was reviewing John's financial records, he found something suspicious. Large sums of money had been transferred to offshore accounts in recent months. He suspected that John was involved in fraudulent activities. Alex shared his findings with Sarah and Elizabeth, and they all began to realize that John's disappearance might be related to these activities. Elizabeth, concerned, remarked, "If John was involved in something illegal, maybe he tried to run away and fake his own disappearance. But why leave a will for you, Sarah? That still doesn't make sense." As they delved deeper, Alex found a recurring name in John's financial documents, an influential businesswoman named Veronica Stone. She was known for her questionable business practices and had a history of involvement in fraud. Alex decided to investigate Veronica more closely and discovered she had a personal connection with John. They had been seen together several times at social events. Sarah was shocked to hear this. "He never mentioned this woman to me," she said, feeling betrayed and confused. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together. Veronica and John had been working together in fraudulent schemes, and John's disappearance might be part of a larger plan to incriminate Sarah and escape with the money. Alex devised a plan to confront Veronica. He believed she knew more about John's whereabouts and could be the key to solving the case. Elizabeth offered to help, using her influence to arrange a meeting with Veronica. The meeting was tense and filled with anticipation. Veronica seemed confident and unconcerned, but Elizabeth and Alex were prepared. "We know you're involved with John," Elizabeth said, looking directly into Veronica's eyes. "And we know about the fraudulent businesses. Where is he?" Veronica remained calm but was clearly surprised by the direct approach. "I don't know what you're talking about," she replied, trying to evade. But Alex was ready. "We have financial records linking you to John, and we know he disappeared right after large sums of money were transferred to your accounts." Realizing she was cornered, Veronica decided to speak. "John and I had a deal, but he got involved in something bigger than he could handle. He tried to betray me and run off with the money. I don't know where he is now, but I can help you find him." Sarah, who had been listening to everything, felt a mix of relief and despair. The mystery was beginning to unravel, but the truth about her husband was hard to accept. Alex, Elizabeth, and Sarah knew they were getting closer to the truth. With Veronica's help, they had a new lead to follow. John's disappearance was about to be uncovered, and Sarah would finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. The tension was palpable as Alex, Elizabeth, and Sarah prepared for the next stage of their investigation. Veronica had provided valuable information about John's hideout. He was in a small coastal town, where he planned to stay hidden until the dust settled. Determined to finally close this painful chapter, the trio headed toward the location. The journey was long, and Sarah's anxiety grew with every mile. Upon arrival, Alex meticulously planned each move. They checked into a discreet hotel, and Alex contacted his local FBI connections for support. The mission was clear: find John and expose the full truth. The following morning, after a strategic meeting with the local agents, they headed to the address provided by Veronica. It was an isolated beach house, surrounded by dunes with a breathtaking ocean view. But for Sarah, the place felt like a nightmare. Alex and the agents approached cautiously. There was a tension in the air, like the calm before a storm. Sarah waited nervously in the car with Elizabeth by her side while the agents took their positions. After what felt like an eternity, the door was forcibly opened, and John was found inside, surprised and worn down. He offered no resistance, and the agents quickly took him into custody. Sarah watched everything from afar, feeling a mixture of relief and pain. Seeing John in that situation was devastating, but she knew it was necessary for the truth to come to light. Back at the hotel, John was interrogated. Initially, he remained silent, but faced with overwhelming evidence and the presence of Alex and Elizabeth, he finally broke his silence. He confessed to planning everything with Veronica to escape with the money and incriminate Sarah, thus avoiding his debts and maintaining his public image. "I had no choice," he said, trembling. "I was drowning in debt, and Veronica offered me a way out. But when I realized she was also tricking me, it was too late." Sarah listened to everything with a heavy heart. The betrayal ran deep, but the sense of injustice that had accompanied her since John's disappearance began to dissipate. Alex assured her that John would face all the legal consequences, and Elizabeth promised to use her influence to clear Sarah's name. After John's arrest, Alex and Elizabeth focused on resolving all legal matters for Sarah. It was a long process, but finally, the truth began to emerge. Sarah was exonerated, and all suspicions about her were completely removed. The medical community and her colleagues at the hospital welcomed her back with renewed respect, impressed by her courage and resilience. The event had left deep scars on Sarah, but it also brought new connections and unexpected friendships. Alex, who already had a special bond with Sarah since the rescue at the diner, became a constant presence in her life. He was an emotional support and a source of strength for her and Lily. A year after John's arrest, Alex surprised Sarah with a special dinner. During the meal, he knelt down and, with a loving smile, asked, "Sarah, you are the most incredible woman I have ever met. You faced so many adversities with incredible strength. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Sarah was speechless, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes, Alex. Yes, I will," she replied, embracing him. That night, Sarah felt that, despite all the difficulties, she had found a new beginning. With Alex by her side, she was ready to build a new life filled with love, hope, and new possibilities. The news of Sarah and Alex's engagement spread quickly, bringing a wave of happiness and relief to those who had followed Sarah's difficult journey. Life was beginning to stabilize, and Sarah was finally experiencing long-desired peace. However, John's disappearance and the revelation of his crimes left deep scars. The community was divided between surprise and disappointment. Sarah had to deal with the shadow of John's past while trying to build a new future. One morning, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. It was Veronica Stone, the businesswoman involved in John's fraudulent schemes. With a serious expression, Veronica asked to speak. Sarah, hesitant, agreed. "Sarah," Veronica began, "I know you have no reason to trust me, but I'm here to make amends. I have information that can further clarify what John and I were doing." Sarah listened carefully as Veronica revealed additional details about John's illegal businesses. She brought documents showing other transactions and connections that could help the ongoing investigation. Veronica was willing to cooperate with authorities in exchange for a reduced sentence. Though wary, Sarah saw an opportunity to finally close this painful chapter of her life. With Alex and Elizabeth's help, the new information was handed over to the FBI, which quickly took action. Meanwhile, Sarah began planning her wedding with Alex. The ceremony would be simple but meaningful, surrounded by close friends and family. Lily, now 5 years old, was excited to be the flower girl, and Sarah felt genuine happiness seeing her so thrilled. However, there was still one last obstacle. John, now in prison, was willing to cooperate with authorities to secure a lighter sentence. He had decided to tell everything he knew, including the names of others involved in the fraudulent schemes. This meant that more powerful people could be exposed, potentially bringing unexpected consequences. Sarah visited John in prison, a meeting she knew was necessary to close this cycle. When they met, there was an awkward silence. John looked older and tired, as if the weight of his actions was finally catching up with him. "Sarah," he began in a low voice, "I know I hurt you in a way that can't be undone. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make up for some of the harm I caused." Sarah looked at him, feeling a mix of sadness and compassion. "John, all I want is justice and peace for my family. If you really want to redeem yourself, do the right thing. Cooperate with the authorities and help expose everyone involved." John nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I will, for our daughter and for you." With that promise, Sarah left the prison, feeling a relief she never imagined possible. John's cooperation helped dismantle a network of corruption and fraud involving several important figures. The case gained media attention, and Sarah finally saw justice being served. The wedding day arrived, and the atmosphere was one of celebration. The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden, with colorful flowers and an aura of hope. Lily, in a cute white dress, walked down the aisle with Sarah, who beamed with happiness. Alex waited at the altar, smiling with all the love and admiration he felt for Sarah. When they exchanged vows, there was a sense of renewal and a promising future. Alex's words were simple but profound. "I promise to stand by your side through all the hardships, just as you stood by mine. Together, we will build a life full of love and honesty." Sarah responded, her eyes filled with joyful tears. "I promise too, Alex. You brought light into my life at a time of darkness. Together, we are stronger." The kiss that sealed the marriage was met with applause and tears of joy from the guests. It was the beginning of a new life for Sarah, Alex, and Lily, a life built on truth, love, and hope. The months following Sarah and Alex's wedding were marked by a welcome tranquility. Sarah returned to work at the hospital with a new perspective, feeling stronger and more determined than ever. She had weathered a storm, but now she saw a clear and bright horizon ahead. Lily quickly adapted to the new life. Alex became a devoted father, filling the house with laughter and joy. Together, they formed a united and loving family, ready to face any challenges the future might bring. Meanwhile, Veronica Stone, true to her promise, continued to cooperate with authorities. The information she provided was crucial in dismantling a corruption network involving several prominent figures in the business world. Justice was being served, and Sarah felt that, finally, the shadow that had hung over her life had dissipated. One morning, Sarah received an unexpected invitation. Elizabeth Carter, always grateful for Sarah saving her son's life, wanted to honor her at a charity event. "You have transformed so many lives, Sarah," Elizabeth said over the phone. We would like to show our gratitude in a special way. Sarah was touched by the invitation and gladly accepted. The event would be a charity gala to raise funds for a children's hospital, with Sarah as the guest of honor. Proud, Alex accompanied her, promising to be by her side every step of the way. The gala night was magical. Sarah wore an elegant blue dress, and Alex, in his tuxedo, couldn't take his eyes off her. Lily, wearing a cute white dress, was excited to see her mother being honored. The hall was filled with influential people, all gathered for a noble cause. When Elizabeth took the stage to deliver the opening speech, she recounted the story of how Sarah had saved Alex's life and how her courage and dedication had inspired many. Sarah Thompson is a living example of how compassion and determination can change the world, Elizabeth said, her eyes shining with emotion. She faced unimaginable adversities and emerged stronger than ever. We are here to honor her courage and unwavering heart. Sarah was called to the stage amidst enthusiastic applause. With tears in her eyes, she thanked everyone for their support and the honor. I wouldn't be here today without the help and love of so many incredible people, she said. My family, my friends, and all of you who believed in me. I believe that together, we can make the world a better place where love and justice always prevail. The night continued with dancing and celebrations. Sarah felt surrounded by love and gratitude, finally at peace with her past and eager for the future. In the following months, life continued to flourish for Sarah and her family. She and Alex decided to expand their family and soon discovered they were expecting a baby. The news brought a new wave of happiness to everyone, especially Lily, who was excited to be a big sister. The following spring, Sarah gave birth to a healthy boy they named Samuel. Samuel's birth brought even more joy and completeness to the family. Alex and Sarah grew closer, strengthened by love and the challenges they had faced together. As she watched her children play in the garden, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From the fear and uncertainty of John's disappearance to the discovery of the truth and the formation of a new family, she felt a deep gratitude for every moment, good or bad. Alex approached, wrapping her in a loving embrace. "Look at what we've built together," he said, smiling. "A beautiful, loving family." Sarah smiled, feeling complete. "Yes, and this is just the beginning. We have a wonderful future ahead." Together, they watched the sunset, hearts full of hope and love, ready to face whatever life brought. Sarah had finally found the peace and happiness she had long sought, surrounded by the people she loved. The darkness of the past was just a distant memory, and the future shone with the promise of even happier days.